Welcome, friends of the self, everyone interested in the true self and the pathways that this interest might take in your life might be very different. So, the text I'm talking about is the Yogasutra. It presents a path to self-realization and deeper recognition through the lens of yoga, which is your unified presence. But you might have other pathways. You might have studied Vedanta, or you might just come into this interest through religion, through a deep spiritual seeking. And so this text that I'm presenting is not just for people that practice yoga. It is a text that is helpful for anyone who wants to realize the self. And it gives so many different options and ways how you can become aware of the mind, how you can transcend the mind, how you can recognize yourself as consciousness, as awareness. And so I find it super helpful, and I hope that you will also just take whatever is helpful for you from this text and enjoy the richness of it, and also a slightly different vantage point than you might usually encounter with non-dual teachings or with teachings about self-realization. So it offers some additional vantage points that might be simply important for you on your spiritual awakening journey. And so last time I talked about that self-realization is attainable or is possible for anyone, simply because it is you recognizing who you already are. So it is simply looking differently at yourself and rediscovering yourself beyond this continuous personal focus, beyond this focalized point of view, beyond the identification with this body-mind. And in the next two suttas, he talks about how your results of this depend on your dedication, depend on your sincerity, depend on your own motivation, basically. This is really relevant because it will take all of you to come into recognition. You will have to drop your person. And so it's not like a little hobby. And there's a lot of fears that revolve around being without this focalized center, like knowing yourself in this vastness. For some people, produces a lot of fear, a fear of the unknown. This fear doesn't have to be there, because what you are already now. So you are already awareness. You are already consciousness. It is just that your recognition shifts from believing yourself to be this person to knowing yourself as consciousness and taking on that wider stance. and allowing divinity, what you essentially are, to actually orchestrate your life consciously and to a much larger degree. And so you don't have to fear. There's nothing to fear. A lot of people have fear of letting go. You're letting go into what you already are. So you don't have to fear anything. And actually, it is just enabling you to function from a different intelligence and to function without your conditioning, without your filters, to function without a lot of the fears or the all these self-image points that keep you down. Like a lot of the negative conditioning is just redundant, actually. But you don't have a space to witness it and to see yourself and how much you're actually bound by that conditioning until it's not there anymore, and then you become aware of what all you carried as a definition for yourself, and that's all not necessary at all for you to carry. And so he's talking about your dedication and that the results will depend exactly on how sincere you are, how deeply you are going into the self-discovery, how deeply you're actually going into self-inquiry. And there's a lot of spiritual practices and cool things you can do, and it's all a distraction in a way from the sincerity of emptying yourself. The fundamental practice is to stay with the self. It means to stay empty. This is absolutely, so few people teach that. What that means, not to take on thoughts, to start witnessing thoughts without identifying with them, and not just thoughts. Everything actually is a thought, but also sensations of your body. It is to detach from it all. This is the viewpoint of consciousness. This is the viewpoint of pure awareness. It means not to be in your mind streams all the time, but to become aware of the mind and to stay out of it, to stay detached from it. And with it, you will start to stay detached from all of your programs, all of your conditioning, all of your ideas of what identity actually is. Like you're deeply identified with your sensations, for example. When you are thirsty, you are identified with it. When you are hungry, you are identified with it. When you feel you need to go to the toilet, you are identified with that sensation. Well, I can tell you that you exist even beyond all of these sensations, and that they are not even necessarily yours to begin with. They're not you and they're not yours necessarily. And so you can stay detached. You, as you are, as awareness, can stay detached from anything and everything. This is what you essentially are. The presence of awareness that is not tainted, that is not identified, that is free and unbound, unlimited. And so this staying empty of is something that's so essential because it is essentially your nature. It's essentially you. And it takes you to practice this. This is whoever of you has done this, has practiced this, has actually come into contact with your mind and into the purity of contact with your conditioning and with all that makes up your specific identity at this moment of time. Recurring thoughts are part of this identity that you have taken on. Certain ways how you think this world is, how you think you are, how you think your life is going to be, how you think your potentials are. And then there are specific sensations that are also specific to your chosen, right now chosen, identity of this moment. And you're identified with them. And it takes someone to actually want to investigate and to actually go into being empty. And it is very, very difficult at first because you're going against the grain. You're going against all of your conditioning. You're going against the mode that you usually apply in your life all the time. All the time you're in your life. All the time you're really in it. All the time you're in your sensations. You're in your emotions. You're in your thoughts. You're thinking that this is all that you have. This is how you respond. This is how you operate from. And so you are not this. And to come into contact with this, to come into touch with this, is the first step out of this identification paradigm. It's the first step. And many people, when they already hear witnessing thoughts, there's already resistance. And now as you're listening to me, you will feel a certain resistance or not. Maybe you are already practicing this. Maybe this sounds really, really exhausting or difficult to you. Watch your own resistance. This resistance is also part of the dilemma. It is part of the dilemma of causing you to actually not investigate your freedom, to actually not recognize your freedom right here and now, to actually not know what you truly are, to actually not know that a part of you is free of all of it, even of your sensations. Even these kind of things are not essentially you. And so, depending on your own wish, your own devotion, your own dedication, to really, really go all the way, to disidentify from the whole mind stream, from all that's going on, that then will determine how much you get into contact with that. And it is like you can listen to all these talks, but it is at the end of the day, it is your own journey inside. It is your own journey of recognition. It is a journey that is done alone. It isn't learned by you figuring this out in your head. It isn't done by you listening even to me. It isn't done by any of it. It is only done by you practicing, you starting to abide, knowing what is that actually, to abide, knowing what is samadhi, staying, absorption, staying with the self, knowing how you can practice this, not listening to the mind, not being afraid, not being fatigued or doubtful or stopping or just postponing or thinking that's not for you. It is for anybody. It is just you need to do it. You need to stop the mind for a couple of seconds. You need to stay empty. You need to witness your thoughts. You need to become aware of the mind to a degree that there is a detachment from the mind, that there is a gap between you, what you essentially are, and all of mind. And all of mind is all emotions, all thoughts, all sensations, all perceptions. That's all mind. And you need to create this distance to the mind. That's the first thing. The first thing to figure yourself out, your true self out, is to create distance to the mind. Because if there's no distance to the mind or distance to thoughts, distance to sensations, distance to emotions, you will be in them. Then there is the closeness to them. Then you are them. You are what is happening in your life. You are your emotions. You are your sensations. There is no distance to what is going on. And not having any distance means to continuously operate from what your mind thinks, to continuously operate from your emotions, to continuously operate from your conditioning, to continuously operate from the sensations you're having. And then there is compulsions, and then there is projections, and then there's no other way how to respond, how to react, other than what you think is best. But there is a completely other way to respond, which is coming from the self, coming from stillness, coming from awareness, having awareness operate, having intelligence operate from that. You are then operating. And you are not operating from your conditioning. And there's distance to whatever is happening. And there is the chance to observe it. There is the chance to stay out of it. And most of all, there is a chance to respond differently, not out of what is arising, not out of what you are thinking, not out of what you are feeling, but out of intelligence, pure intelligence. And that is already what you are. And the rest is all the filters that you have taken on to be you for this moment of time, to perceive through them, to feel as if they are you. And so your freeing process, your self-realization process, your recognition process is to create this kind of distance, to watch what the mind is saying, to watch your own resistance even to these kind of practices, to these kind of deeper investigations, to committing yourself, to saying, I commit myself now. I have experienced enough in this life. I have seen it all. I have been totally identified. I have been revolving around my patterns and negative conditioning long enough. I want to know myself beyond all of this charade. And then, depending, he's saying, depending on how sincere you are, depending how deeply you go, depending on how committed you are, depending on how much space you make for this. This is your final journey. It allows you to free yourself of these patterns, of what holds you down. So how can you not be committed to it? Because there's a fear of letting it go, a fear of actually, there's sort of like almost like a mechanism in the mind, that the mind does not want you to come into distance to it, to actually observe it, to see it for what it is. And so this is completely up to you. It is for you. This video is for you. This investigation is for you. I'm talking for you. I'm talking for you to find yourself. I'm talking for you to free yourself. I'm talking for you to find what is not engaged, what is changeless. And the more that you find this, investigate in this, mature in this, abide as this, the more this changeless, still, intelligent dimension of yourself that's already here can operate your life. Will be lots of freeing. There will be lots of restlessness that starts to change. You become resting as that. You become more peaceful with what is. You will be less moving because you come into touch with what is unmoving. You become more at peace. You become more still. You become more quiet. There's a lot of attributes that also then start to infiltrate or come into your life more and more because you are them. And they are more purely expressions of that, what you are. And a lot will simply fall off. And a lot what has agitated you will no longer agitate you. It will be seen until it is no longer reaching you. Until it is just known that it's not you or not needed to be engaged in. So my sincere hope for you, for everyone, is to find themselves and to dedicate yourselves to this. And now is such a good time. It is the end of the year. Things might slow down. You might have more time for yourself. You might have the space, more of a maybe more space to be with yourself, to investigate into yourself, to meditate, to witness, to see the mind for what it is, to create this distance, to find yourself. Remember that what I'm talking about is not a theory. It is for you to find this out for yourself, to really confirm to yourself what it is that I'm talking about. To start, to not be distracted, to go all in, to sincerely commit yourself to this search, and to And even, even little, like maybe that's a good motivation. Even small moments, for example, when you stop the mind, you halt the mind for a moment. And there is just a release happening into what you are. This can already help. Short moments when it doesn't need to be endless, but you witnessing the mind, starting to let go of the grasp of the mind, the grasp of the senses, the grasp of perceptions, the grasp of thoughts, sensations. Even like a small kind of glimpse, a freeing up, a knowing where to go when it gets busy, and knowing where you are already still, and knowing where you exist beyond all of your negative patterns that might be happening in your life. There's something that you are that is free of them. To find that, to come into touch with that, to know for yourself what I'm talking about, to have these profound moments of communing with source, what you are, with intelligence. These profound moments of communion, lengthening them, maturing in them, abiding as what you are, allowing this. Letting more of this come into this world through you, through your findings. That's how powerful you are. You are source. And you can investigate and tell the world what source is like as you, what consciousness is like. Not just as an insight, spiritual insight into consciousness. No, as the recognition that you are consciousness, as the identity shift that you are consciousness. So he's talking about that. Very small, already small results. Medium engagement, medium results. Strong engagement and dedication, strong results. But even just a little stopping of the mind, a little pausing, a little awareness goes a long way. Namaste.